Hi, fellow Django developers. Hezekiah here from alwaysdjango.com, where we discuss interesting Django topics that you should grow, improve as a Django developer. If that sounds interesting, like, subscribe, share this video with anyone if you find this video important. Let's get into it, right? So, if you have been following our videos lately, you know that we have been making a playlist. I've been uploading videos on our Django REST framework playlist, right? Where we are going over complete beginner tutorials on Django REST framework to build APIs, right? So, and I promised us that on the last video, on the last couple of videos, we'll be making an API, a project API that will be deploying, so that we have a full understanding of the workflow, right? So, I thought of deploying to Heroku, but as we know, Heroku is paid. Then the next one might be Railway, but my Railway account has been matched up. I think we also have a video on this channel where I discuss deploying Django to Railway. Maybe I'll leave a link to it in the description. But for today, we'll be looking at how to deploy to Render with Postgres database and what have you, right? So first thing will be, of course, accessing the website render.com. So that's the URL. So render.com, this is the website right here. You can come there, go through it. And render is not only for Django. You can also use render to deploy Node.js projects, React and things like that, which I've not done really. I've just used it for Django, but I think it handles Node.js, right? So if you come to render.com, I will leave a link to this website in the description, right? So if you come there, you see something like sign up and register and sign up or something like that. But because I have one account already, it doesn't ask for your card payment, nothing like that. Just I think you can use Google authentication. You just enter your email and authenticate, normal password stuff, right? So if I come to my dashboard right here, I think I have a couple of projects and databases here. So um, my internet is lagging a bit, so just be patient with me, right? So I think I have a couple of projects here. I think I have like one or two. So I have two projects here. Let me close my screen here. I have two projects here connected. So one is a database, one is the website itself, right? It's an API also. So first things first, let's get into it. So first thing I'll start with making our Django project, right? Our project file. So you come to your file explorer where you want to create the Django project. I have a folder here where I call YouTube always Django, and that's where I place all my Django tutorials, right? Django tutorials for this channel, right? So I open my command line here, then I write Django admin start project, right? Then we'll give a name. You give a name to the project. Of course, you should know this, how to create a Django project. So the name of the project will be, let's say, deploy to render, right? So deploy to render is the name of the Django project. Let me cd to it, cd to render, right? So let me also create a virtual environment, and let me hear it, right? So why is doing that? So we also have a tutorial on creating projects, creating virtual environments for your Django projects, right? I also leave a link to it in the description. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. It's very important, it's very necessary for your own personal growth as a Django developer. We do only Django here, right? So this is the project opened on VS Code. Obviously, I can right here. So I'll just open this. If I open this, I can pip install Django. Pip install Django. That should be the only thing that we need for now, right? We also need other packages, but for now, it's only Django that we need for now, right? So why this is running, why our project is there, Django is being installed. So if we come back to Heroku, if we come back to render right here, so if you come here, you see this button here which says new. If I drop it down, you see something like web service, static site, cron job, Postgres, Redis, etc. Right? So let's start with creating our Postgres database, right? So if we go to Postgres, obviously we'll use Postgres here. So if we go to Postgres, here is the name of the database that I want to give. Let's say deploy to render, right? That's the name of the database. Then the database, these fields, all of that field here is optional. Here is the region. Every other field here is optional. Here you get to select the instance type, right? It can be free, starter, standard, pro, and pro plus. So obviously I'm a free plan here, so I select free here, right? So then I select create database. You can fill out these fields here. If you know what you're doing, you can fill them out, but I just click create database here, right? So that is running, that is creating. I think it takes like some few minutes, like 5 minutes, 6 minutes to create this. You can see right here the status is creating, right? So while it's doing that, to come back to our Django project, you can see that Django has been installed. We come here, let's run our migration and run our project to test it out. Manage the py migrate to run the Django default migrations. So the migrations have been committed. Then let's manage the py. Let's run our server to see. This is just default Django deployment, right? Default Django project, right? So if we come here, come to our project, you can see right here that Django project has been created, right? Default Django project has been created right here, right? So that is that. So the next thing will be, we need two packages for everything to work correctly, right? Number one, we need G-Unicorn, yeah, we need G-Unicorn, and we need Django database URLs, right? So if I open my browser here, you see G-Unicorn here is just a server for Python. You can see G-Unicorn, Green Unicorn is a Python WSGI HTTP server for Unix, right? So we install this, we need it for the deployment to run our server. So we come here, copy this. Let me just turn off my server here. So if we install the Unicorn, then the next package we need is the DJ Django URL. DJ Django URL, we need it to connect to our render database. Yeah. So we need this to connect to our render database, our Postgres database, obviously. I think this is completed, so it's available here, right? So if we copy this also, come here, hopefully this is completed. So we'll come here, install this also, right? So we need G-Unicorn and DJ Django URL. So we have installed those two. I'll leave the installation command for you in the description, right? So that you can copy it, right? So the next thing, we'll go to our settings.py file. Or first of all, let's set up our static files, right? Our static files, obviously, maybe for a functional website, you have your JavaScript, your CSS, etc. Right? So we set up our static files here. Let me just remove this comment here. Then I'll say from Django.contrib dot static files dot urls, if I'm right. Then we import static files URLs. So these static files URLs will help add static URLs to our static files amongst our URL paths here, right? So we come here, we say URL patterns, we say plus equal to static URL patterns. So what this does is just this function here, or module here, gets you the URL, your static files URLs, right? It gets you your static file URLs. Now what we just do here is we append it to these already URLs you have for our Django project. Sorry, excuse me. So we get these URLs and we append it to these URLs we have for our Django projects, right? Then if we go to our settings.py file here, if we come under below here, you see something like static URL. So make sure you have the static URL defined. When you create a Django project, is defined already. Then we should also have the media URLs. Let me just create that. We should also have a media URL. let me save this to media, right? So this media, let me just increase my screen here. Yeah, so I guess you can see it better now. So this static URL is for static files. This media URL is for medias that maybe users upload to your website, right? So that would be that, right? So while we are on it, right? While we are on it, um, here when we deploy to render, right? When we deploy to render, we get a custom URL given to our website, right? We get a custom URL given to our website. Now in Django, so allowed host contains a list of URL paths that this our Django project will be allowed to render on, right? So here you should have something like um, your local host that's 127.0.0.1, right? Then your local host, your render URL, and any other URL that this website, your Django website, will be rendered on, right? So instead of mentioning them one after the other, obviously I don't even know the URL that render will give to us right here, right? So to cover every URL, we just put asterisks, right? Asterisks as a string, right? So this will cover for every URL that this website wants to render, right? So after this, the next thing will obviously be using our database, right? So that was why we installed Django DJ database URL, right? So let me import it here. Let's say import DJ database URL, right? So what this DJ database URL does for us is that it looks like when we deploy our project to production, right? Let's say we deploy it to render right now, right? So it looks at the URL, our database or render, which is Postgres, and it uses that database for us. Now, when we are in local development, it will also use the normal SQLite database that Django comes with, right? Django comes with by default, right? So that's what DJ DJ database URL does, right? So to declare our URL, our database, right? This is where our database is declared here. I have a cheat sheet right here. So I'll also leave a link to this in the description, right? So if I copy this, come here and let me just comment this out and paste this right here, right? So this, I'll leave a link to this in the description, right? So if you come to the description, you copy this and you also paste it, right? So this thread right here, you see default database default is this DJ Django URL dot pass, right? Here will be our database URL, right? Here is the external URL. Now, if you come to render right here, if you come to the database, the Postgres database you just created, if you come here, you see something like external database URL. This is it here, external database URL, right? So if we come here, we copy this. If we copy this, we come to our Django project, we override this, right? Now, obviously we don't want to be testing this just like that here, right? So we want to use environment variables, right? We want to use environment variables so that, because this is a secret value for our project, right? So if we come here, let me just create an environment variable here. So if you don't know about environment variables and Django, I'll also leave a link to a tutorial where we discuss environment variables on our YouTube channel, right? If I come here, I'll say database URL, right? And I'll paste this value we just copied from here. This value we just copied from here, which is this, right? So if I paste this, now to work with environment variables, we need another package. Sorry, I mentioned we need 2 packages. Sorry, we need 3 packages. Now the package is Python decouple, if I'm right. So if I come here and search for pip install Python decouple right here. Pip install Python decouple. couple, if I can spell Python the couple, right? So if we come here, I think it's pip install Python the couple, something like that. My internet is slow. Sorry, my apologies. Please forgive me. Right? So, but I think we come here, we copy this pip installation command here. If we come here, we paste it. So, pip install Python the couple. Right? So, after doing that, we come back to our settings.py. We want to import from the couple, which is the package we just installed. We import config, right? So if we import config right here, it will now come here. This is where we want to use this environment variable, right? So we come here, I will say config, right? Then we enter the name of the environment variable, which we can copy from the database URL, right? So this is our database URL, right? So let's test out if our database is connected and if this is working, right? So to do that, this is our database right now. If you can remember, when we ran the migration, it's on our local machine, on our local database right here. So let's run our migration and see if the migration will be successful. Obviously, if it's successful, we are able to migrate to this database here and we are able to connect to the database, right? And we are good to go. So if I say Python manage.py migrate, right? Fingers crossed. Okay, sorry, we also need another package. I'll just leave a list of these packages right here. So like we are using Postgres, right? So if you are using Postgres, you need this psg copy to module, right? This module right here, right? So we need this module right here. So if I also go and pip install, search for pip installation of it. So if I also install this is for Django to be able to work with Postgres database, right? You know that Django uses SQLite by default. So for Postgres database, this is the module that you need to import. You need to install for it to work. So with this now, fingers crossed, hopefully this works right now. So if you stay, like you can see here, we are also getting an error right here. And it's okay that we are getting error. We are getting errors. We are programmers. We always get errors and we should be able to fix it. So the error, if you read this line here, you can see function object is not iterable, right? So what is trying to say, I forgot, this is a function right here. If you can see here, this is a function that returns a list, right? So we use this as a function. I'm very sorry, guys. Pardon me, right? So if you run again, hopefully this time it executes successfully, right? So fingers crossed. It takes a little bit of time, obviously, because we are connecting to a remote database, right? So this is not the local database, right now, right? So if you can see here, our database is migrating successfully, right? So that's one step checked, right? So after connecting, while our migration is running, obviously. So after connecting to our database, we have connected to our database successfully, right? So the next thing is for us to specify our requirement files. What is our requirement? The modules we need for our package, for our Django project to run, right? So to do that, we need a file here called requirement.txt, right? If you have done any kind of Django deployment to any kind of server, obviously, I think you should have heard about requirement.txt file, right? So it's just a file, a txt file, text file that contains a list of all the packages we need for our Django project, Python project necessarily to run, right? So to get our requirement.txt file, that is a very simple. Obviously, you can come here, create a requirement.txt file, then list out all the packages, but that's long-winded. I will have the command here in Python that does this for us. So if you say Python, no, not Python, we say pip freeze requirements.txt, right? So pip freeze requirement.txt, what it will just do is take all the packages you need for this project to run and put them into your requirement.txt file. And if you look here, we have a requirement.txt file with all the packages, all the packages we need for this project added into it, right? You can see Django URLs, Django, can see Django URL, Django, GUnicorn, import lib and stuff like that. So it takes all the packages we installed and their various dependencies, right? Which we don't even know we need to install, right? So after doing this, the next thing will be pushing our project to GitHub, right? So on on render right here to create our project, to deploy our project. When we come here, come to which type of project we want to deploy, we'll say web service, right? So if we come here, we'll see two options. We'll see build and deploy from GitHub repository, build and deploy from register, right? Which is advanced. I don't know what it does. So we generally use GitHub, right? If you want to look into this, you can look into that. But generally, now we are going to use GitHub, right? So if we select GitHub right here, it will ask you to connect your GitHub repo, right? So if you can remember, we don't have any GitHub repository for our project. So real quick, I'll just go and create a GitHub repository for this our project and deploy it there, right? So that's if my network will allow me, that is, right? So let's create a .gitignore, gitignore file. Then we add our VLV, which is this, our packages, our virtual environment. So we add our VLV file here. Then come to GitHub. Let me just do this real quick. Just pardon me, guys. Maybe I should have done this earlier before I started the tutorial, but that's cool. So we come to our repos. My network is even lagging, right? So come to our repos. Let me add this git init first, because we want to initialize a git project. Git init, right? Git add dot, because we want to add everything. Then git commit this with a message of first commit or whatever, right? So to do this, these are the committed. So we come here, we create new repository. The name of the repository should be deploy Django to render, because that's what we are doing. My network is very slow again, guys. I'm very sorry for wasting your time. Or what will happen is that I will pause this tutorial. When I'm done creating this Git repo, I will push it to the repository and continue the tutorial, right? So just pardon me, guys. I'll get back. I'm back, guys. So what I just did is that I git added, git committed, and git pushed, right? So if we come to GitHub right here, if we come to our folder, our GitHub folder, you can see what we have. This is our file, our repository pushed, right? Our project source code has been pushed, right? So if we come back to render right here, right? So if you come to new web services, that's where you get, that's how you get here, right? So if you come here, you search for this project, for this GitHub repository you just created, right? So I copy the name, I just paste it here to search, right? So if I search this and I click connect, right? To click connect, right? So you enter the name of the project, right? Any name you want, as I go with deploy Django to render, right? So let me select this. Then runtime Python, obviously Python 3, obviously. Then branch is master by default. Then build command is the command that is used to install our packages, which is pip install -r requirement.txt, which obviously installs our packages, right? Now where we need to make a change is on the start command, right? Here you can see GUnicorn, right? So that's why we install GUnicorn, right? Because we use GUnicorn to start our server. Now, when we make the changes here, right? So GUnicorn space here. Here, what you have to enter is the name of your project, right? So the name of our project, to get it, we come to our project here, go to WSG, we copy this, right? So if we copy this, we come here, we paste it, right? So after pasting it, we say .wsgi : application, right? So what I will try to the what I try to say here is gunicorn start my server referencing this right here, right? So we say gunicorn start the server and reference this application right here. So what I just try to do here is that we are passing the path to the application. The path to the application is in this folder. Inside this folder under WSG, then application right here, right? So that's what we have here. Project folder dot WSG colon application, right? So that's what we have. So under here, if you come under advanced, right? If you come under advanced, you see add environment variables. If you remember, we used environment variables here. So the environment variable we use here is database URL. So the environment variable is the environment variable we used for our settings.py to set our database, right? So we also need to set it here because environment variables are specific to the environment. So this is in our development server here, in our development computer. This is in the production computer, right? In our server, right? So add the environment variable, we give it a name, which is the name we have here. The name, we give it this name. Then the value, right? Instead of giving it this value we have here, if you remember what we copied was external URL. What we need to pass it now is the internal URL. So if we go back to if I go back to my dashboard, if I go back to my render dashboard, right? So if I go back to my render dashboard, I need to get, if I go back to render, so I need to get the internal URL of the database, right? Not the external URL. We use the external URL because we are trying to connect. If we go back to our migration, you can see how all our migrations have been executed. We are trying to connect from another computer, right? Right now, we are trying to connect from that same server, right? If you understand what I mean. So if we go to database, this database we just created, we copy the internal database URL, we copy this, and we put it here, right? So that's what we do there. Then we click on create web service. So we click on create web service and we keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully, so you can see here it's saying building, right? So it takes roughly 4 to, let me say, 9-10 minutes for it to complete successfully, right? So you can see the command is running, is installing our packages right now. Install Django, DJ database URL, gunicorn obviously, and many others, right? So it's installing. So it's installing our PSY copy, then upgrading, so it's building, uploading builds. I think our builds is our source code, right? So you can see right here, build was successful, that was deployed, right? We still have to wait. So if you go up, I think you should have it. So you can see here in progress, right? So it's taking this time and it's doing this thing, right? So maybe I'll just go, okay. I think we are almost done. I was thinking about maybe offering the server and offering it. I think we are on. Okay, so you can see here, you can see live, right? So if you come here, you can see the URL to your website, right? So if you click on it, hopefully you see the default. So this is what you see, right? So this is because on our project we don't have any URLs, right? We have a URL for the slash right here for the default URL for the default home page, right? So let's use the home page, the admin page that comes in with Django, right? So if you go to slash admin, what you can tell already that our project is live, right? If you go to slash admin, you can see the Django admin panel login, right? So this means that our project is live and is running. So this is it, guys. This is how you deploy a project, a local project from Django from your local environment to render. using our Postgres database, right? So that's it. You just create your project, specify the settings URL, come to render, create a database, and connect the database, push to GitHub, and deploy, right? As simple as that, right? So this is it for me today, guys. This is it for me today. So the next tutorial will obviously be looking at Django REST framework. The next tutorial will be looking at Django REST framework, looking at custom authentication in Django, right? So you have to subscribe, click on like, comment. If you have any question related to Django, I'm always here to answer you. Just comment and peace. Take care of yourself.